Hey everybody, this is Sean. I'm a recent graduate of the Backend course at Nucamp, and without any ado at all, I'd like to get into my portfolio piece. This is all based on API calls from openweathermap.org. So if we go down to my models file, you can see I've created a couple of data tables here. One is forecast data. You can see I've got a auto incrementing ID, and then we got dates, sunrise times, lows, daily highs, dew points, humidity, and UVI index. And then some stuff for the API right here, basically for me to be able to call things up by ID or to be able to show things as they're indexed in their totality. And then the same thing here for what's called an air pollution, which is a call to the same exact API, but pulling different data. We've got my base URL already ready to go. Type in the name of the data table. That's how it's set up. Hit send, and here's the entire JSON object. And then, of course, there's the one where I can sort of isolate it based on ID. So let's just, for example, 17. All right. There you go. There's the one for June 5th, which was yesterday. Basically, we'll run our app through this here. And when we run it, the first thing it does is run this function, which is another call. And then we get our response here. And then right here, I convert that response to a JSON object. I then traverse the JSON object and pull the data that I need. Down here is a query into my database. I have an empty list, and then I for loop through the query, and I pull out specific values and then append them as dictionaries within this list. And then, I put them, I render them as a template onto a display page. None of this really moves without updating the data, right? Head over to this buttons thing here again, and then I'm just going to run it. All right, so we've got this thing, update pollution data and update forecast data. Here, I'll bring that into the middle of the screen. And, they're pretty self-explanatory buttons. If you press update pollution data, it'll update the air pollution data table. So let's give that a go, actually. So let's update this. Should be good. Now let's call it again. Boom, here we go. That's our latest. So that updates our data, our air pollution data table with a new entry. All right, so for the second button, which is updating forecast data, we do this call, which again is to open weather data. Same exact place. We pull basically forecast data from that specific API and turn it into a JSON object, and then traverse it a bit, pull specific data points that we want, and then with SQL Alchemy, insert them into the local database. So you can see everything's ordered by date, right? Let me see if I can. Yeah, there we go. So June 2nd all the way up to the 12th. And you can also see that the ID number sort of changes drastically, and that's because obviously weather changes. So if you're making a 7-day weather forecast call every 24 hours, you're going to need to sort of, overwrite the previous entries if they existed, right? So that's why I have in here this little delete statement, not using SQL Alchemy, but using PsychoPG2. So we create another connection. And then we just write raw SQL right here. So basically we're deleting from the forecast data table, where ID not in, select max ID from forecast data group by dates, which is basically saying take every entry that is existing, group it by date, and when you notice duplicates within those dates, take the entry that has the lower ID number, which would be the older entry, and delete it. So we'll do that right now. We'll update this right now, right? All right, so first, let's have a look at our weekly forecast. We'll just do a reload, and you can see we're still on the 5th, right? But it is already the 6th in Japan. So let's jump over here, hit update forecast data. That's done. Now let's reload our site. That's obviously changed. Now we have the 6th because it is currently the 6th. It's midnight, and yeah, there's the current temperature. So if we jump over to the database and run this select query again, check this out. So everything for the 6th on was updated, and the older ID number of that entry was deleted. So, we basically go from 1 to 2 to 9 to 17, right? And now we start with 25 on the 6th. And the same thing will start happening tomorrow and the next day when I run this update. So it was an interesting way to be able to keep things updated manually, while at the same time automatically deleting older versions of forecast data to give the most updated and current version of that forecast data as it sort of iterates. So that's what I got.